So we're kind of reaching the end of our pipeline of processing elements in our stream for the completable future variant of ImageStreamGang. And this is a great segue into the last piece of the puzzle, which is applying arbitrary-arity methods in order to be able to collect the results of the previous processing stages. And in this particular case, we're going to focus on the allOf arbitrary-arity method. So if you recall, we had a Java sequential stream that terminated with collect. And what will happen here is that collect is going to collect up that stream of completable futures to optional images. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to have a method called toFuture, and toFuture is going to return a single completable future that will be used to await the completion of all the other completable futures before continuing with the program. And so in this particular case, it's going to await the completion of actually a stream of futures, as we'll see in a second, before continuing with the program. So keep in mind that collect also does something else. It triggers the processing of all the intermediate operations. And we're going to get the appropriate collector by the call to the toFuture method. And that toFuture method is, of course, going to be a factor method that's used in conjunction with our StreamOfFuturesCollector class, which will be a wrapper around the arbitrary-arity allOf method. What we get back, of course, this is nothing different from what we've talked about before and what you've also seen in your assignment 3. You get back a completable future, and then we're going to use a completion stage method, in this case, then apply, to wait until everything's done processing, and then we're going to go ahead and log the results. Now, you can see here we're actually using a very cool Java 9 feature. This came into Java 9 and, of course, everything beyond. And that's going to use flat map in conjunction with optional : stream. And what that does is it very cleverly gets rid of all the empty optionals that would correspond to previously cached images. So if anything was cached, they're going to come through this whole process as optionals that are empty. And then we're going to use flat map passing in optional stream to get rid of all the empty optionals. If you're programming with Java 8, say on Android, for example, you can't use this cool Java 9 feature. That only came into Java 9 and later, and Android doesn't support Java 9, sadly. So here's the way to do this with Java 8. Instead, you use stream.filter to only allow optionals that have values where the value is present. And then we go ahead and call the get method on the optional using map. So that'll go ahead and get the results from that optional. Not quite as clean as this cool way, but it's more portable. So sadly, Java 8 is more verbose, which of course is exactly why they added that feature to Java 9, but sadly, Android hasn't kept up with that. The last thing we do here, as we talked about before, is we call join, which waits until all the asynchronous processing is done, so we don't end up falling off the front or the end of the processing. Remember, your goal in life as a completable futures programmer is to avoid calling join unless absolutely necessary, and that also applies to get as well. So there's only one call to join in this entire async stream pipeline, which greatly speeds it up and makes it more scalable. After we're all done with all the asynchronous processing, then the images can be displayed, and that's done in whatever way is appropriate, whether it's an Android app or a console app, and so on and so forth. So that's the end of the overview of the app. There's still one more piece of the puzzle we're going to talk about here, and that's the implementation of our StreamOfFuturesCollector.